welcome back. So here's my review of Mint on BBC One. Have you ever watched a show and by the end of it genuinely wonder what you just saw, or worse, why it even exists? That's pretty much the experience within BBC's One's Mint, a series that tries to position itself as edgy, stylized drama, but ends up feeling more fragmented ideas stitched together without much direction. At the center of the story is Shannon, played by Emma. She's the daughter of a crime family, and on paper, that setup should be interesting. A young woman caught between inherited criminal legacy and a desire for something different. Her father, Dylan, played by Sam Riley, stepping away from the family's business, trying to distance himself from that world. Meanwhile, Shannon's relationship with her boyfriend Aaron, played by Benjamin, becomes another point of tension. Aaron is viewed suspiciously by Shannon's mother, Kat, played by Laura Fraser, who believes he's bad news and wants Shannon to stay away from him. And that's basically the backbone of the plot. But the problem is that's almost all there is that feels remotely clear. Beyond this core setup, Mint quickly starts to feel disjointed. Characters appear and disappear without much narrative weight, as if scenes are less about storytelling and more about atmosphere or abstract expression. Instead of building momentum or emotional clarity, the show often breaks its own rhythm with sequences that feel deliberately disruptive. There's a strong sense that the series is trying to be artistic or experimental, but instead of enhancing the story, it often pulls you away from it. Some scenes feel disconnected from what came before, like they belong into a different version of the show altogether. It creates a viewing experience where you're constantly trying to catch up, not because the plot is complex, but because it's unclear what the show actually wants you to focus on. Tonally, things don't help either. The soundtrack is unusually abrasive and experimental, often overpowering scenes rather than supporting them. At times, it feels like a composed score and more like a random electronic noise layered over dialogue and visual. The intention might be mood setting or surrealism, but the effect is often distracting. And that leads to the biggest question surrounding Mint. What was the creative intent here? The series is written and directed by Charlotte and feels like very specific artistic vision, but one that doesn't always translate into coherence for the viewer. There's a fine line between ambiguity that invites interpretation and ambiguity that feels like absence of structure. Mint often leans towards the latter. That's not easy to say. There are no interesting elements. The cast does what it can with the material, and there are moments where the performance hint at deeper emotional threads. Shannon's conflict in particular could have been compelling if given more room to breathe and develop, but those moments are often too interrupted or undercut by the show's fragmented storytelling approach. By the time the episode ends, you are left not with anticipation for what happens next, but with confusion about what you were meant to take away from what you have watched. And that's because the core issue with Mint, it doesn't fail because it's ambitious. It fails, at least for some viewers, because that ambition isn't anchored in clarity. Instead of drawing you into its world, it keeps you at arm's length, constantly asking you to interpret pieces without ever fully assembling them. So overall, Mint is visually and stylistically bold experiment, but one that struggles to communicate its idea in a way that feels coherent and engaging. It may find its audience among viewers who enjoyed abstract, heavily stylized drama, but for many, it's likely to feel like a confusing watch that never quite comes together. That's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.